Hey everyone, Rick Gualtieri here. Wanted to continue on with my series of chapter readings to give you a little taste of what I can do to complement the stuff I talk about over on Tales of a Midlist Author. Today what I wanted to do was a chapter reading from Bill the Vampire. Now, Bill the Vampire is a what I would call a foul-mouthed horror comedy. It's also urban fantasy, so kind of a mix of the two. It is book one of my Tome of Bill series, and the Tome of Bill series is finished, just to let you know. It is, there's 8 books, or 8 main books in the series, plus 3 side stories, so a grand total of 11 books, and it's available, all of it is available on Amazon for Kindle, paperback, and as well as Audible for audiobooks. And so I'll put some links to at least Bill the Vampire down in the comments, so keep an eye out for those. For those playing along at home, the Tome of Bill series might be complete, but next year I am launching a sequel series that takes place, about 5 years after the events of the final book, The Last Coven. So keep an eye out for that. The series name is Bill of the Dead, and the book one is called Strange Days. So look for that. I would say in probably January, if things don't go well, maybe early February 2019. It's out being edited right now. I don't like to give a solid date until I know we're gonna hit it. I'm one of those people. I don't like to chase a date. I prefer to release a book when I feel it's done. So, best I can give right now is a time frame of soon. All right. This chapter is called "One Will Stand, One Will Fall." For you Transformers fans, that might be familiar, and there's a reason for that, as I'll get into the chapter. It takes place just a little shy of halfway through the book. Bill has just finished his first couple days as a vampire. He's finally returning home, and he's essentially attempting to convince his roommates that he's not a horrible monster, that he's just himself. And his roommates, being geeks, well, they don't react as you might normally think people react in a horror movie. So why don't we hop into that? I'll give you a chapter reading for that. I do plan on doing all of the books in the series, so there probably will be samples for all of that coming first, but obviously it makes sense to start with book 1. This is a reading from Bill the Vampire. The day passed fairly quickly since we both had full plates of work to throw ourselves into. It turned out to be fairly productive too, as I discovered I was able to type quite a bit faster now. The whole being a blood-sucking walking corpse thing was going to take some getting used to, but I wasn't going to complain much if one of the side effects helped me get a nice bonus at year's end. Aside from some work-related questions from Ed, I stayed in my respective home office, with maybe the exception of a quick break at lunchtime to grab a liter of blood and some Cheez-Its. What? I wanted to find out if I could still eat regular food. We knocked off around 6 p.m. One of the key skills of being a developer was knowing when enough is enough. One would want to put in enough effort to be a valued asset, always good during threat of layoffs, but not so much that you'd be a sucker doing work above and beyond what you're being paid for. Since the sun was now low enough that I wouldn't run the risk of turning into a tater tot the second I stepped outside, I accompanied Ed to pick up some Chinese food for dinner, and then we came back to wait for Tom. I had noticed earlier that, while I was still capable of eating solid food, thank goodness, it didn't seem to quite satisfy me in the way it used to. The taste was fine, but it was like eating a giant salad, for me anyway, in that it seemed to be missing something. While we ate, I mentioned this to Ed in passing. Well, it's not surprising, he said between mouthfuls. No? Not really. Think about it. Your digestive tract is probably all rewired. It's kind of like this. I used to date this goth chick who always kept some cow blood in her fridge to freak out her friends. Anyway, she was telling me one day after sex, thanks for the extra info, Ed, that she tried drinking it a few times. I guess she was trying to walk the walk or some shit. A sip or two was okay, but anything more than that and she'd wind up puking her guts up. The same would probably have happened to you a few days ago, but now you can safely guzzle it down. In fact, I'd bet that whatever it is that you feel you're missing from that, he motioned toward my lo mein, you probably get from the blood. Am I right? I considered what he said. Yeah, that could be it. Like a Snickers, it satisfies. Thanks for forever ruining Snickers for me. Anyway, I'm no nutritionalist, But my guess would be that you're probably now getting your daily needs from the blood. As for the rest, it's the nutritional equivalent of eating cardboard. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yep, so I'd imagine that feast before you would probably pack a better punch if you poured some blood on it. There was definitely some logic to that, enough to make it worth a try. I got up, went to the fridge, and pulled out a pint as Ed watched. I poured it onto my food and then nuked the concoction for a minute. Sitting back down, I was about to dig in when a bit of self-consciousness hit me. Is this going to gross you out? Probably. But then again, is it any weirder than some of the shit Anthony Bourdain eats on his show? Good point. I took a bite. Well, he asked expectantly. Best Chinese food I've ever eaten. That's probably not saying much. Want a bite? I held out a forkful toward him with a grin. You know you want to. He sighed disgustedly. Pass. By the way, please tell me that's animal blood. You know, I'm not entirely sure. Kind of forgot to ask on the way out. That's comforting, he said, oozing sarcasm. I was about to open my mouth to say more when the front door clicked open and my other roommate Tom walked in. He was an inch or so taller than me, of slightly thinner build, and had dirty blonde hair. Close cropped to disguise the fact that it was already starting to thin on top. His suit was disheveled from a full day at work, and he was carrying both his laptop bag and suitcase. Okay, this was it. I already had one non-freaking roommate. Just one more and I'd have a complete set. However, he started talking excitedly before either of us could speak. Hey guys, he said, tossing his sports jacket onto a nearby chair. What a weekend. I scored like a mofo. You won't... Scored? How is your sister, by the way? Sorry, couldn't help myself. He casually flipped me the finger, continuing as if I hadn't spoken. Mom wanted me to stay an extra day to drive her around because Dad has some shit to do. I hate being her chauffeur, but this time it was worth it. Ed chimed in. Dude, we have to talk. Yeah, in a second. So she wanted to go to this flea market. Fucking things. Normally you couldn't pay me to root around in someone else's shit, but... Tom, it's kind of important, I interrupted. Not as important as this, he said, blowing off both our entreaties. I found this stoner selling a bunch of crap, and you wouldn't believe what he had. He reached into his suitcase and pulled out a wad of bubble wrap, which he immediately started to unravel. Tom, check it out, bitches, he proclaimed, holding up his prize, a small but easily identifiable toy. Optimus fucking Prime. Is this cool or what? Ed and I both gave each other a glance. We'd seen this before. That's great. Really it is. But I have something important to tell you. I'm a vamp. Are you two always going to be retards? Don't you get it? I paid $10 for this. $10. First generation, mint out of the box with all accessories. The sucker didn't have any idea what it's worth. I could almost see the manic glee in his eye as he continued unabated. Christ, in a couple of years I'll be able to send my kids to college with this thing. No, fuck that. I'll be able to send myself to live on some island where the drinks and the pussy flow freely. I stood up and walked over to him, knowing that if I didn't stop him now, we'd be listening to this psycho-obsessive crap all night. Tom. Sorry, Bill. You're my bro and all, but Prime here is the new priority. I just gotta let you know, he said, only half kidding. If this place catches fire, I save him first, myself second, and then maybe you guys, if there's time. Okay, enough of this shit. I grabbed the action figure from his hands. We have something that we need to talk about. Oh, fuck! I yelled as there was a searing flash, and suddenly, for the second time that day, my hand was in flames. I dropped the toy and started waving my arm around in pain. Tom responded with a panicked, "Don't fucking break it!" And then, just as quickly stopped as what happened finally started to sink in. Speaking of sinks, I immediately raced to ours to douse my hand. For also the second time that day, Ed was nearly speechless. What the hell just happened? You tell me, mumbled Tom, absent-mindedly retrieving his toy and cradling it like a mother would a small child. God damn it, that hurt, was the best I could offer as way of explanation. A few minutes later, we were all seated around the table. After making sure I was all right, Tom went and locked his action figure, apparently complete with real kung fu death grip, in his room. I had wrapped a wet dish rag around my hand and taken a seat opposite him. So you're telling me you've gone insane, Tom said. No, I'm saying I'm a vampire. Uh-huh. Prove it. Prove it. Did you not just see? Okay. Deep breath, I reminded myself. Do this calmly. Tom was having one of his clueless asshole moments. Fine, I'll prove it. How about this? I opened my mouth wide to show him my canines. He looked nonplussed. $5 will get you a reasonable set of glue-on fangs. They're real. They look fake. They're real. Touch them. I'd prefer to keep my fingers out of your mouth. Thanks. I might have something that'll prove it, Ed chimed in. He stood up and went into his bedroom. The sound of rummaging could be heard a few moments later. What else you got? Asked Tom. Well, how about mirrors? Amaze me with your lack of reflection. That one only works in the movies. How convenient. What about garlic? Does that drive you away screaming into the night? Actually, I'm not sure. Tom got up, walked to one of the cabinets, pulled out a jar of garlic hot sauce. Here, Dracula. Okay, I nervously replied. This was really not how I envisioned testing out my vulnerabilities. I dabbed a little on my finger, hesitated for a second, then licked it off. I waited a second or two to see if I was going to start convulsing, and then, when nothing happened, said, Nope, that myth is busted too, I guess. You're not really helping your case here. I know. Should I try staking you through the heart? Oh, wait, no, that would kill anyone. Don't be a complete ass, I shot back. Oh, yeah, the fridge is full of blood. Explain that. He opened the refrigerator and took a quick look. So, it looked like that last Halloween. Yeah, but this time it's real, if you say so. Found it, Ed called from his room. I heard his footsteps approaching. As he was just about to pass me, he said, Sorry, Bill, this might sting a bit. Before I could question what he meant by that, his arm wrapped around my neck and he pressed something cool against my forehead. Behold, see how the beast burns before the might of our Savior, he cried in a bad southern accent. What the fuck, man? I shoved him off me. That's weird. It didn't work, he said, showing what he'd just assaulted me with, a small iron cross on a necklace. A little warning next time, I growled. Sorry, didn't think you'd go for it if you saw it coming. You're probably right. Where did you get that thing from anyway? Oh, it was a gift from that emo chick I was telling you about. He appeared to consider something, then said, I should probably find her phone number for you. If she found out you were a real vampire, she'd have your dick in her mouth faster than you can say spit shine. I thought about it for a second. Has potential, but let's table that one for the moment. Ahem, Tom cleared his throat. Are we done with this idiocy? Oh yeah, sorry, not yet. I have one more idea, Ed said, turning towards the dish drain. He quickly spun back, a steak knife in his hand. Before I could ask what he was planning to do, he plunged it into the table. The same table my uninjured hand just so happened to be resting on, if you catch my drift. The pain was so swift and instantaneous that I couldn't even scream. Holy shit, Ed, Tom exclaimed. Time to switch to decaf, dude. Wait. Ed pulled the knife free. Bill, before you completely shit a brick, hold up your hand. I was about to hold it up in the form of a fist to his face when I noticed he was right. I lifted my hand and we all watched as the small, but fucking painful, wound quickly closed itself. I thought that might work, he said, especially after I saw how quickly your hand healed earlier. Speaking of which, take off the towel. I pulled the dish rag off as I growled at him. Thought it might work? Sure enough, though, he was right about that too. My twice-burnt hand was once again good as new. Okay, said Tom in a very slow voice. I'll admit, that's maybe a little off-kilter from normal. It's about time. Another test or two and one of us, I glared at Ed, probably wouldn't survive. Very well. I accept that maybe you're a vampire. Maybe? Yeah, maybe, he said. One thing about it still doesn't add up. Since when can vampires touch crosses safely, but old Transformer toys cause them to ignite like rocket fuel? Can you riddle me that, Riddler? Unfortunately on that one, I had absolutely no clue. All right, that's a little snippet from Bill the Vampire. Tome of Bill, Book 1. Starting off Bill's story and what turned out to be quite a fun series to write, and hoping to have similar fun with the sequel series. So, if you want to check that out, that is in the comments below, and hopefully I will have another one of these for you soon. Until then, talk to you later.